Things are hardly what they seem. Who would have thought that there will come a time when you want to purchase something, the package or the packet will say it's the thing that you want, whether edible or not, but when you open the package, it's not what you expected to find in it, or in some cases, it looks like it feels like it, they say it is it, but when it goes into the body, it doesn't work like they say that it would. Yesterday on Weekend Deal, we began our conversation talking about adulterated food and beverages. When we rounded up, we said something like, how would you feel if somebody did something to you that you did not like? Then imagine how it feels when you betray a trust. When you put out something there that is harmful to your fellow Nigerians and others who are resident in our country, you betray the trust of not just one Nigerian, but indeed all Nigerians. Today, as we continue this conversation, you get to see how Magdalene, Ijoma, Susan, Onyola, and a host of our other colleagues nationwide are knitting a web to show where trust is betrayed and the consequences that can follow. Our guest yesterday, who deals with fertilizer, Gideon Negedu, said yes, that some people do not know that they are harming fellow Nigerians with the amount of pesticides that they use or the quality of other chemicals that they use. It's hard and challenging to believe, but who knows? That's why we're doing this, so that they can watch, learn, and amend their ways. Francis, tell us what you found about cold cuts, amongst other things.
There is nothing as good as knowing the health condition of whatever goes into your mouth. Most Nigerians pay less attention to their overall well-being. They prefer quantity to quality. So, the food industry saw this and decided to meet their needs.
Food security is not all about availability of food, but how safe. There are a lot of food items today, both in markets, raw food, and dry food stuff that are being adulterated with other elements. In fact, even in the process of preservation, they added some chemical to preserve it, which are not edible. And today, it has led to food poisoning. If you go to market now and you buy a mudu of beans, by the time you start separating the beans from the shaft, you will now see that 1/4 of that beans is shaft. Some also take some little element of stone and put it inside to increase the quantity. If you take Abuja as an example, you have a lot of eatery everywhere. Who check them?
For many years, instant noodles appear to have become one of the most favorite meals in many homes. Also, among students faced with several lectures and workers hurrying off to their offices, instant noodles remain readily available.
The process and manufacturing of those noodles, what are the components that they bring together? If you are having about 3 content that has to be mixed together to give you a noodle, which one is supposed to be less? What is the mixture ratio? This is where the food experts now come in. So there are noodles that are safe and there are the ones that are not safe.
It is disheartening to learn from reliable sources that palm oil sold in the markets are heavily adulterated with some reddish substances. The so-called vegetable oils are even worse, as some sellers of cooking oils add shea butter fat, bleach palm oil to augment the size of the oil.
There are people who don't care because what they are out for, it is the amount of money. If, for example, they have 10 gallons of palm oil, maybe 25 liters, and whereby other item has been added, I'll now give them 50 liters. Because if each is the cost about 20,000 per gallon and it's supposed to be 25 and now it is 50, which means he has added 50% what he's supposed to earn from the 5, because they look at the benefit involved to themselves alone rather the consequence that is going to be involved.
Medical experts believe that consumption of imported frozen poultry products can be a silent killer without showing symptoms for prolonged periods. Apart from the health implications of this product, it can also lead to the death of the nation's poultry market.
A lot of chicken that were imported, which they use some chemical to preserve it, to blow it to have weight, so that when they now put it as a kilo, it has more weight than the other one that does not. Government need to try to make sure our local chicken here are readily available, because recently I've said it that the cost of chicken is on the rise.
The frequent report of adulterated food and food poisoning calls for urgent attention.
Government need to take serious measure, especially from NAFDAC and the Ministry of Agriculture, whereby they go to market, because in some cases, if NAFDAC did not go to market, they will not know. And NAFDAC, if you look at it today, they are more on drug, on the rise. But it's not that they are not working on food, but they are well known today in terms of drug. But what about the food that we are talking about?
Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on adulterated food and beverages.
We are shedding the light, providing clarity, and also calling on the agencies involved to perform their role of due diligence nationwide. In Plateau State, many of them grow their food and they are also able to supply neighboring states. That's why it's up to them to tell us at this time how they handle, how they store, and how they preserve this thing such that when the food produce get to those they are sharing them to, they still arrive there fresh and in good and edible condition.
Plateau State, known as the home of peace and tourism, can equally be called the home of variety. The state is home to over 100 food cash crops and arable land which supports almost any type of vegetation. The climate is known to be favorable for farming of different seasons. The availability of crops has made food processing to be one of the major occupations of the Plateau people.
Plateau State is one of the states that I can consider blessed in farm produce and food entirely. And the preservative methods that are used, we have the refrigerating, we have the drying, we have the freezing, and then the pickling and the canning. For us, what we use here is the freezing and the refrigerating, which are the best I can consider, because all your nutrients, let's say 80 to 95% of your nutrients are intact during this process of preserving of vegetables and products. So that's what we use here.
The production and preservation of food is key to having a healthy society. However, the preservation of such crops have been a key point to notice in the agricultural sector. Many attempts have been made in creating awareness on better ways of storing and preserving food.
What we do is to make sure that our products, as soon as they are processed, that they are well dried. And as long as they are well dried, you can package them in bags or in small pouches, and they can have a longer shelf life without any form of preservative. We are regulated by NAFDAC. We are also regulated by the Standards Organization of Nigeria. The mark that they put for us is the shelf life. The shelf life shouldn't be more than 2 years.
Apart from the harmful preservation mechanism adopted in an attempt to keep the crops in their original state, another focal point to consider is the adulteration of food by manufacturers of consumables, where they produce counterfeit products instead of healthy products, in order to make more profit at the expense of people's health.
Farmers say that you put in some chemicals inside the grain for storage, but we want to discourage that practice. We haven't been doing that, so that's a practice I don't even want to talk about because we should discourage it as much as possible. To avoid food poisoning, the best system that they can use is those storage bags, you know, those ones that have 2 polyethylene bags inside them. I believe those are the best forms of storage.
People can avoid food poisoning basically by stopping the use of chemicals in the preservation of their farm produce or vegetables when they want it to stay for a longer period, and adapt the refrigerating and freezing, which is, I feel, is far cheaper and better. Considering the harm that the chemicals will cause on your body, you have to go to hospital for treatment.
The production and preservation of food is key to having a healthy society. There must be an intentional attempt to perfect the production, processing, preservation, and distribution of what is consumed by the populace.
It is integral to make every action intentional, especially when your output, when your handwork is going to serve as food or drink for your fellow human beings. There is no award for ignorance. Ignorance is not an excuse. Lack of knowledge is not an excuse. Before you set your hand to any task, you are required to do as much research as possible, because you are feeding people, you are giving them a liquid to drink. You must be intentional about what you produce, what you grow, what you use to feed our nation. And that is why Owen went out, because she's been hearing a lot about chemicals used to accelerate the growth or ripening of fruits and vegetables. She spent some time at farmers market in Abuja. Oyinyola, what did you find?
Fruits and vegetables are an integral part of our daily meals. They are cultivated worldwide. This essential farm produce are a rich source of vitamins, minerals, and dietary fiber. There have been rumors that some fruit vendors intentionally degrade the quality of fruits and vegetables for sale by adding or injecting harmful chemical substances. Some examples of adulterated fruits and vegetables are our normal everyday green leafy vegetables, bananas, apples, cucumbers, watermelons, and who knows what else. There are claims that vendors inject pesticides for ripening, add synthetic colors or malachite green or wax for coating. We were at the farmers market in Abuja to verify these claims.
I don't know whether now some people in some market, Abuja get plenty market, but here we get rules and regulation about that chemical things, because we say natural things for here.
Whenever we go, like banana, we used to buy banana normally ripe one. So in that particular market that supplier used to give us, so we don't know whether they used to put chemical or not. We just buy them like that to come and sell it.
Yeah, I had like banana, plantain, mango. They use some chemicals sometimes force it to ripe. Most of the mango that they use chemical is those big mango will come from Benue. You know, Abuja mango is native. They are small. So that one is natural ripe. That one is from the farmers. It's fumigation issue. There are some insects, when it is small, the baby, the fruit, you understand, the flower. So there are some insects, if you touch it, you get it, that patches.
We don't put anything in watermelon. If it's ripe, it's ripe.
We all eat fruits and vegetables because of their health benefits. The experience may be pleasant or otherwise.
Yes, I remembered one certain time I bought banana, bunch of banana. I saw carbide. They used to ripen it. So I didn't even eat it. Since then, I quit buying bananas.
Some of these sellers, what they do is that they bring a commercial quantity that they cannot sell. When they are not able to sell it, they use artificial means of preserving it. Like I've taken guava, eating it, and then it started disturbing me. When I get to the hospital, I noticed that it was the guava that I eat, which was wrongly preserved.
They use carbads to make the fruit ripe quickly. Even the vegetables we use, some of them use carbide and the chemicals. And that is why we're experiencing sickness all over now.
However, genetically modified fruits should not be mistaken for adulterated fruits and vegetables. While fruits and vegetables are adulterated to enhance appearance, taste, and quantity, genetically modified fruits and vegetables are derived by introducing a gene from an organism. They are modified to improve nutritional value and reduce the wastage of farm produce.
To do all that, this guy is not good. Because it's not good to sell what you cannot eat to yourself. Like in our hadith, the way our prophet said, and la yumina ahadukum hatta yuhibbul akhihi ma yuhibbul nafsi. That means is what you can do to yourself, do it to someone.
And yes, Comrade Aliyu has said it all. A word is indeed enough for the wise. Don't sell to the public what you yourself cannot eat.
It was interesting listening to those who made comments in that package. But at this point, we are willing to submit to the fact they are unsubstantiated rumors until people are caught, held, made to face the consequences of their actions. It may interest some of them who are doing things like this that over 200,000 people died or have died yearly as a result of poisonous substances or adulterated products that they have consumed. That is not right. Let us rise up to the occasion. If you see something, say something. And if at all you are doing anything like that, if you didn't know before, now you know. There are standards. Read more about what you're doing. See what people have been doing before you, so you can keep yourself and indeed all Nigerians safe. And that's why Sule saw Zenau Hassan Mikaswa, a young farmer, and decided to have a chat with him. Let's see this.
You are welcome to our studios.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the focus has been on adulterated food products you find in the market, and farm is a critical area that produces some of these food items that we find in our markets. Now, talk to me about some of the practices our farmers engage in the farm that would lead to food that might likely have a negative impact on lives of the consumers.
Okay, basically, when you talk about practices on the farm, from land preparation to planting to fertilizer application, that's nutrition management, to weed management, to pesticide usage, and then up to harvest. Then we have what we call the post-harvest, how you handle the harvested crops outside the farm before it gets to the market and to the final consumer. So on the farm, some of the practices that leads to adulteration include pesticide usage. When we talk about pesticide usage, we have herbicides that is used to control weeds. We have fungicides that are used to control fungal diseases, and insecticides that are used to control insect pests that affect crops. So when every of these pesticides has a regulated usage dosage. Once you over apply them, then you fall short of problem. For example, in beans cultivation, it is known that beans attract a lot of insects because of the flowers, and so farmers are engaged in the act of always spraying their beans often, sometimes once in a week, twice in a week. sometimes two times in a week. But it is always advised that you only spray when you have observed that there are pest incidents that have reached a particular threshold that can cause damage. Once you don't have those signs, you don't spray. But to some farmers, they just feel that it is just a normal practice that you have to spray. And you have heard that Nigerian beans have been banned, in other countries because so
is it down to some of these practices?
Yes, it is from the farm that it affects. So from the farm, from weed control, from weed land clearing, you apply pesticides to be able to check the weeds on the farm. When you also overdose it, it gets into the soil. The plant also picked it from the soil and it remains within the plant system. So when they do certain kind of analysis of some of these, they find traces of some of these chemicals in this food, which leads to cancer. And most of these other European countries who are very serious about food safety will not place a ban on import until we are able to check some of these practices. And then vegetable production, for example, it is always advised that as much as possible limit usage of pesticide on vegetables, because vegetables you eat directly, you don't cook it, or you just cook minimally.
When food is properly cooked, it kills all the germs.
Yeah, so there are, when you talk about germs, certain live microorganisms, certainly those ones can die off. There are some that heat will not kill it. For example, when you have aflatoxin in your food, it goes far, even up to those who process it. Let's say for those who process maize into Cerelac, into poultry feed, you can even trace it up to the bird or even the egg that you consume. So it's not all of them that heat can control. There are a lot of them that heat can control. Microorganisms, bacteria, fungi that if have affected maybe vegetables, you use hot water to those level, you can do that, but not all. Now another side, I was trying to explain about post-harvest handling, processing. For example, cassava, for example, those who eat alibo will have noticed that once the farmers peel the alibo, they do some level of washing, and then they go to the roadside, because it is the roadside that have slabs or the sidewalks.
And
and then they dry them
sprayed
along. Yes, they dry them along. And then when cars move, they raise dust,
I've
fumes,
seen that quite a lot of times.
Carbon monoxide, they all fell on these things, and they now come pack it in that manner and go ahead to grind it into flour. You consume either alibo as cassava alibo or the yam alibo, for amala and the likes. Now, this all constitutes some form of adulteration.
I'm sure the EFCC will do something about it since it has become an economic crime. Now, quickly, talk to me. You started earlier on about the need to regulate farmers. Of course, you have associations whereby they apply for loans, where they, adapt best farm practices. But you say there should be a deliberate, effort to monitor, or rather to regulate farmers. What exactly are you referring to?
Yeah, in Nigeria, for example, we have a body that regulates processed foods, right? Any foods that is being processed is being regulated by NAFDA. But the unprocessed food that comes directly either from the farmer to the market, those ones we may categorize as normal raw food. They are unregulated. And farmer associations are expected to play a role in sensitizing the farmers, training the farmers on best handling practices.
Yeah.
This is not there. Farmer associations are more concerned about getting funding, supporting their farmers, providing inputs, they grow, and then the banks find a way to collect back their money. They don't care about how they use this and some of the practices that the farmers put into it. So, and then another big issue is that up to this moment, we don't have a national food policy. It is a national food policy that will help in saying what practices should be adopted and what practices shouldn't be adopted.
Well, all right. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, Zendel Hassan Maikaswa, a farmer and, of course, an agriculture consultant.
That was quite enlightening. There's no national food policy. The checks and balances to regulate the farmers is not strong, is weak, or is non-existent. All those and more needs to be addressed. For now, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. We're talking with Honorable Dr. Tanko Yusuf Sununu yesterday. He said that adulterated food and beverages and drugs is a national emergency, and perhaps that's how Aga from Benue is telling us that Nigerians are vulnerable to those who adulterate food and beverage of any type. It says many thanks to the Nigerian Television Authority for providing more enlightenment and clarity. There are a lot of messages, but for now we'll take Susan's package. Susan, when she's out there in the streets going to and from work, has been able to see what food vendors do, how people interact with them, and decided to investigate and thoroughly research that angle. Susan, please show us what you found.
A healthy outside starts with a healthy inside. The body is a reflection of not only what we put into it, but also what we put into our mind. Have you ever wondered why the health of many deteriorates faster these days? Why do our forefathers who were stronger, lived longer, and had much less health issues? There are several reports of adulterated food and beverages everywhere in Nigeria.
You will see a product, same face, same everything, but if you don't know the original version, trust me, they will even sell it higher than the same version of the original product. So people do some of these things to make money.
Groundnut oil, for instance, doesn't have that same taste and aroma anymore. Our favorite mama put may look tender and more inviting, but its constituents have severely been tampered with. We only eat to fill up. The World Health Organization says an estimated 60 million, almost 1 in 10 people, fall ill after eating contaminated food, and 420,000 die every year, resulting in the loss of 33 million healthy lives yearly. In February this year, the Osun State government warned caterers and food vendors against the use of paracetamol to tenderize meat while cooking. Use of detergent for cassava processing to induce the whitening of fufu and gari is also banned. Talking about the food sold in marketplaces, how safe are those fried by the roadside?
The milk I bought, in space of 1 week, 2 weeks, I started seeing some particles inside. I was seeing the colors were changing. Color of it is supposed to be white, and it's whitish to the end of consumption, and it was changing.
How awesome are the oil used? Its alleged transformer oil is now a hidden favorite among producers of fried foods.
Fresh palm oil, like if you open it, if you smell it, there's this fresh smell that comes. It smells like roasted yam. After some time, you taste this palm oil these days. It's gummy, it's smelly, you have some white particles inside. You discover that something has happened to that oil.
I'm not actually sure, but they may do that because of the way things are.
The meat we eat and our favorite joint could also have been cooked with many sachets of paracetamol. Dangerous chemicals and products such as the popular insect killer, sniper, are also used for the preservation of stockfish and beans. Experts say there are very serious implications.
There are a lot of chemicals that when you use them to preserve food, you're causing more harm than good to that food. The actual lifetime of the food might not be up to why you are preserving it.
As the alarming reports of adulterated food and beverages continues, the health risks keep rising. Sensitization against the sale of adulterated food items should be taken to the grassroots level to ensure adequate awareness.
Before you buy a product, try your best to know what is the content of it. Almost 90 to 95% of products we eat from outside are adulterated. So that's why it's good for us to try our best to know where we are eating from and what we are putting into our system.
The more people become conscious of the grave consequences, the less likely they are to patronize the perpetrators.
The more you tell about what you experience or about what you know, the easier it will be to pin down the perpetrators. Susan went out on the streets and that's what she found. We're going to Lagos, NTA Educational Television, where they did some research on fast foods. Fast foods. Let's know more.
Food forms the basic need of our health and ability to function effectively in the society. However, most people consume adulterated foods and beverages on a daily basis without knowing the effect in their lives.
Majority of the fast foods, they are laden with saturated fats, so much sugar, so much salt, that if you keep consuming such amounts of food, you may be prone to having, some ailments, like we call them non-communicable disease. And one of the risk factors for non-communicable disease is the type of food that we eat.
People obtain foods and drinks in different ways. Some people prefer homemade foods while others solely eat fast foods. A review on the consumption of fast foods and beverages clearly shows that it has gradually become a part of lifestyle for a large number of people in this part of the world, especially amongst urban dwellers.
As long as I did not come out with homemade food, definitely I am going to dwell on fast food that day.
Obviously, I prefer homemade food. They are well prepared, and then homemade food, they are well nourished.
The increase in demand of fast food has brought to the fore its prominence in the country. It has infiltrated every nook and cranny of the nation. It might interest you to know that chips sold at eateries are frozen and preserved, then thawed and fried. How healthy is the preservation?
Development have make it very easy. We have different way of preserving it. We have the natural one, then we have the one that has been prepared already that you just pick up from stores that you can easily fry yourself. With good refrigerator, we are good to go.
If an individual continues intake of all this fast food, one may be predisposed to getting this non-communicable disease. Which ones are the non-communicable diseases actually? Diseases like obesity, cardiovascular disorders like hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, high triglyceride levels in the body.
If fast foods are not particularly healthy, then why do people still eat it despite the impending health implications?
In Lagos, it's a busy area. So sometimes people take their time before they get home. Sometimes they were tired and they just sleep. So they like to eat the food before they get home.
So I think because of the fastness and accessibility to the food, people prefer it than home food. There's no stress in cooking it.
Fast foods may be delicious and convenient, but it may also be a source of public health concern. If the foods are prepared under unhygienic conditions, at this point, one will begin to wonder if appropriate measures are being carried out by food agencies in ensuring the inspection of fast food outlets.
What they look out for most is the hygienic of your environment, the preservation of of the food you are giving to people. The people that are in charge of it, how careful are they? Clean from covering of their hair, their presentation, their look, and every other thing. They check a lot of things. Everything must be in place. Your hand glove, your sanitizer due to the period of COVID-19. We're just going out of COVID-19. Everything must be in place. If not, you'll be fired with latent defect. That place will be closed down.
So it is everybody, the people that are cooking the food, the people that the food is being sold to, So it is knowing that we cannot cut corners with our health. We cannot cut corners because one day we're going to end up, that person is going to end up in the hospital.
The commercial fast food sector will continue to grow while the health implications of the population will dwindle. This will not only harm the populace, but it will also have an impact on the health budget of the country's health sector. It is therefore important to ensure the safety of the fast food in both major franchise stores and small fast food establishments.
I don't know if you are able to go to a fast food or an eatery and determine just by visual sighting that a particular meal is adulterated or not. But we have been advised severally, managing your health is intentional. So do what will make your body feel good. Health is not just one step. Okay, I didn't go to the fast food yesterday, or I didn't eat that fast food just one day. You must make a plan for your life so you can be healthy in the long term. If it involves cooking at home more than eating out, then it's advisable to do so. The less you eat out, perhaps, the better for all of us. Well, we'll continue to make wise decisions as we journey along with this all-involving topic. And we're receiving your messages. We're getting this one from Benue. Please let us know who you are. Okay, Mark Gassman Atema from Benue says he would like NAFDAC to have shifts who work at night, so they can move around localities and communities and cities to see what food vendors put out when dusk has come. In other words, he's saying that many of them hide some negative practices in the dark where they cannot be caught, but they can be found. So that's why we say when you see something, do say something. Magdalene has been talking to agencies that regulate food and beverages. We do know she spoke with someone from Standards Organization of Nigeria, as well as somebody from the Consumer Rights Protection, amongst others. But Magdalene, share what you found. It can be worrisome to see different packaged and unpackaged food items and products flood the different markets in Nigeria. There is some talk about food contamination. Is this a fact?
So now, is food safe? Is food unsafe? It depends on so many factors. Whether food is safe or unsafe depends on preservation. Why do people preserve food? So that the shelf life will be increased. So what is it being preserved with? So it's important to understand that. Now again, what are the preservatives? Are the preservatives harmful to people? Do they wear out over time? And if they wear out, they have residues that can harm individuals. So these are components that you need to look out for when you're looking at food that is being preserved. Now once food is contaminated with chemicals, this becomes toxins, because these toxins can damage the liver, can damage the kidney, can damage any part of the body that it comes in contact with if it's in excess. So yes, while we agree that food should be preserved, it should be preserved in such a way that it's not harmful to the individual.
Contaminated foods of different types are usually infectious or toxic in nature, as statistics show that in Nigeria, for example, more than 200,000 deaths were recorded yearly, depicting foodborne diseases involving adults and young children. Many have argued that genetically modified foods, from grains to vegetables sold in the market, have some anomalies. From its advantages, they may also have adverse effects due to the organisms used in producing them artificially. To meet our daily demands, it is pertinent that food safety and quality should be ensured through stringent control and inspection mechanisms for exports as well as the domestic market.
Organizations like Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, that on behalf of the consumer ensures that they get justice where there is injustice or where they are not getting value for money. Everywhere in the world, there are usually multiple agencies with overlapping functions related to food. Why? Because food is something that once you ingest it, you may not have a second chance. If it poisons your system, you may just die before you get help. So the government of Nigeria has saddled very many agencies at the federal level, at the state level, at the local government level with standardization, regulation, and consumer protection regarding food. SON plays the role of the coordinator of the development of different types of standards that relate to food.
The problem we're having now is most consumers don't know their rights. And I don't know, the issue of Nigerians, when we tell them, some of the ones who are even able to say, don't do this, they don't even understand it. They will say, no, why will we not do it? So awareness is going on seriously, because we know that when consumers understand what their rights are, they should insist, they will demand for it, and they will insist on it. We have NGOs that are affiliated to us, but consumers here, they don't even care. At times when you tell them go back, they say, how much is it going to cost? I come and pay transport again. Please, even if it's for 1 naira, it's your money. You must give value for your money.
In purchasing packaged and unpackaged food items, experts advise consumers to be alert for logos, trademarks, as well as expiration dates. Government at all levels must continue to set up high regulatory standards for food content of all types and to ensure that offenders of the law are brought to book. Interesting to note, just as we're getting the message here from Jibril Aminu, he says if NAFDAC and Standards Organization of Nigeria and other regulatory bodies are really performing their tasks, there would have been a great reduction in adulterated food and beverages, and the death toll will be greatly reduced. It's urging them to work more diligently. Thank you, Jibril Aminu. We'll be talking with Prince Anana Jeff. He's a farmer. He also trades in farming products and produce and livestock. It's great to have you on Weekend Deal.
Thank you very much.
You travel around, in a bid to either purchase or sell farm products and produce.
Yes.
What did you find, or what do you find?
All right. In my experience of years in agro storage and preservation, I think the most common way, commonly aspect they used in preserving some of these commodities or some of these grains are toxic and they are harmful. I think the last year when we were doing bean storage and I went to some part of the country, I found out that some people were using some of this toxic and acidic and all those like otapia, most of this common this thing that kill faster. They were using it in preserving those beans, and I called them, oh, this is wrong. We don't need to do this. There are so many ways.
What is the appropriate way to do it?
All right. The appropriate way, there are many ways to preserve food. There are many successful ways to preserve agro produces. For instance, there are some bags, there are some weaving bags you can use in producing your food. This is what we are doing. There are some other means you can use in preserving your food, and they are harmless. If you don't have enough, if you don't have enough fund to do storage, don't do it.
Tell us how to do it after putting in the bags.
Okay. Now, when you put your food in the bags or you put your commodities in the bags, the first thing you should look out for is an warehouse, a standard warehouse, a very furnished, good warehouse that have ventilators. Because when you close the door, close everything, the food has not preserved. Definitely, there's no inflow. There's no airflow. It's going to spoil. And you are preserving foods to avoid wastage and spoilage.
So air is necessary.
Air is very necessary. Ventilator is very necessary. While preserving food, you have enough, you have a standard furnished warehouse.
Okay, when you now go through this method, like how long do we usually preserve beans, rice, and other edibles?
Beans you can preserve as long as 1 year. Once beans produces are done every year. For instance, the farm beans October. Beans will come out September, December. You start storage from that December, January. Then it can last as much as 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
Even
then,
when you're transporting them from place to place?
Yes, it's very possible. And that's why we encourage them to be using some of those bags.
But now we're talking about adulterated food and beverages. Some say even the handling, when you cultivate and you've harvested, that the pre-handling, even before bagging and storage, some level of infection or contamination starts from there. Is this a fact?
It is. It's even starting from the foundation of planting.
Tell us.
One of these wrong foundation we made was these chemicals. Those fertilizer we use. Some years, I think I did some sanitization around some other parts where I farm. What we do, I'm a livestock farmer as well. We use some of this wastage, like fowl, poultry, and all that, to fertilize, to farm our crops, which are very good enough. So the foundation, started from the foundation, we use chemical to do everything. Right from when we cultivate or we harvested those things, we still use chemical to preserve them.
Okay.
So those things, they are harmful.
But see something now. Is it possible to plant crops without using any chemicals from the foundation?
Very, very
Is it that it is wrong to use, or they are using too much?
It is not wrong to use, but they are using too much. They are abusing it.
Okay, so you must know the quantity. And for now, we don't know if they are deliberately putting too much or they don't know the quantity that they need. But we'll come back to that. You mentioned livestock. We know that there's the matter of our chickens. We have the broilers. There's some they call local chicken, and we hear that the broilers, you just see a day-old broiler or it's 3 days, and the next thing you see the broiler is taking a walk to the bank to go and collect money. But if Joma is the one that went and did this research, how many broilers did you find withdrawing money with their ATM cards? Joma, show us.
Poultry farming is one aspect of agriculture that has come to develop over time. With increased demand in poultry products like eggs and chickens, farmers in the sector are looking for ways to boost production, increase sales, and suffice the demands of current realities in the business. But then again, these efforts towards meeting demands have necessitated the use of improved and advanced growing methods to accelerate growth of these birds.
We have broiler, we also have cockery. Cockery, they have this local trait in them. That one takes about 6 months to grow. Then we have broiler. Broiler can be ready at 4 weeks. Yeah, depending on how you feed them. Now the broiler, there are those type of chicken that they are being imported. We import them to Nigeria. I think 2 weeks or 1 week. Then you now give them chemical food for them to grow faster. The cockery I mentioned earlier, those one look like Nigerian local chicken. So those are the ones that take 6 months to mature inside. So it depending on the feed you are also giving them. When you give a broiler a local feed, it will take more than 4 months or 6 months to grow. But if you give it the chemical food, 2 months is okay for it. They are ready. But when you look at the local one, so those local chicken, if you give them Nigerian local feed also, they will grow. But they will not grow faster when you use chemical food to feed them.
It's not all about the feed, it's the drugs. It's these drugs they are using to boost the chicken. As for the meat, they are using local product for feeding. When they mill it, it's okay for the chicken. But the drugs they are applying is the one that will boost the chicken.
However, some other unconventional methods that are used to grow mostly broiler species of chicken has been identified to be harmful to human health.
Mostly for broiler, and there's the one they call Neola. So if there is any suspecting something, it should be that vaccine of 18. Because that vaccine, I don't really know what they use, but surely there is serious changes, there is development. I call it development because what you have not seen before, and you see that this thing has become everywhere. Anywhere you go, 7-week chicken will be bigger than 9 weeks of chicken of 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Now, apart from altering the cause of natural growth in the guise of vaccine, there are also cases of unhealthy preservative approaches used on poultry products, especially imported ones, to preserve chicken, and these cause for concern of the authorities.
Most imported chicken are very much preserved with chemicals, and those chemicals are very, very much harmful to the system.
This one is foreign chicken, while this one is Nigerian chicken. A lot of people patronize us for this one more than foreign chicken for now. They complain about the chemical, said foreign chicken has chemical. So now people don't patronize us for foreign chicken.
A kitchen master like Chef Isaac tells us how to identify artificially accelerated chicken, often referred to as inorganic chicken, from the organic ones.
That one that they use artificial will never be strong. You can use your bare hand to shred it. But you can't use your bare hand to shred organic chicken.
Well, we understand that the cost of organic foods may be slightly higher than the inorganic ones, but it is advised that we pay critical attention to what we consume in this age and time where virtually every food item is artificially modified in the name of improved and advanced species.
Even human beings these days have been artificially modified. What we are learning is that not all artificial modification is wrong or will have long-term negative impacts. But what we don't know is if those who are modifying know the how, the when, the what, the where. You know, that's what's critical. Let me ask you a vital question. Would you rather have a chicken that can grow from baby stage to adult stage in less than 2 months? Or would you rather eat chicken that has grown naturally without any form of modification? But that's for you to answer and take precise steps to actualize. Prince Anana Jeff, yes, we're talking about storage and preservation methods. Chemicals, you say, can be used to grow our food crops, though we can do without. So we don't know now if those who are growing don't know they are putting too much, or if they are putting expired, or if they are putting the wrong ones. Guide us, please.
All right. First of all, putting chemical to grow your plant or to grow your crops, it's not too bad. It's not bad. I'm not completely condemned it. It's not bad because there's no how you can plant crops without chemicals. All I'm saying is we over abuse it.
People are working diligently to earn. Then I use that hard-earned money to go and purchase something, and you poison it either knowingly or inadvertently.
Yes.
And the result is fatal.
It's fatal.
And then you say someone telling you knows too much. Anyway, let's go to, they say a word is enough for the wise. Tell us about challenges in transportation.
Okay.
Of these food items.
I think the major challenges we are facing in these food items is transportation. For transportation, for instance, that, let me give you one example. I bought some wheat from Kaduna to be transported to Abuja last week. They charge each bag at the rate of 3,500 naira.
For one bag?
For one bag. So when I bring those wheat to Abuja, how much do you think I'm going to sell? I'm going to sell them. So transportation contributed 80% to the problem we are facing.
You're talking about costs now.
Yes.
I thought you referred to spoilage.
No. I'm coming there. I just want to analyze this first because this is the major challenge we are even having. Do you get?
That's you, the farmer, but we are telling you, the consumers. Our major problem is that 200,000 Nigerians die annually from adulterated or poisonous things that they have consumed. For those who are erroneously harming people, or for those who have been doing it because this is the way they know how to make money.
Yes.
For those who are doing deliberately, we want them to stop. For those who are inadvertently, they don't know that it's harmful, we want them to desist. Then from those who know those who do it, we want them to report. And it's through education from you that we can achieve that.
Yes.
But finally, let us narrow this thing now. There is adulteration of food and beverage. It's existing nationwide. Some of us know it, some have experienced it, and it's detrimental. What measures, we hear there's no national food policy. What measures can we take, you as a farmer and your other colleagues, to ensure that we eradicate this or bring it to the barest minimum?
I think what we can do is to ourselves to educate ourselves within the farmers. We need to come to a conscious mind and tell ourselves the truth that what we have been produced are wrong, are toxic. Okay. Then within themselves we can regulate it and go about checking what you are producing, what this person is producing. If it's possible, we can meet the government to also attach us with NAFDAC to strongly check what each farmer is producing. NAFDAC to strongly check what each of the storagers, what I call them storage gurus, okay, to also what they are using in preserving their food. There are some machines you use to test those food, and they will discover that a lot of chemicals are in. They're the one you will check and know that the chemicals are less.
Not too much. You can have a synergy and seminars
and synthesize ourselves.
Okay,
which we'll be doing that in most of those local farmers.
Okay. We want to thank you, Prince Anana Jeff, for coming on Weekend Deal.
Welcome.
Please continue to tell your fellow farmers and traders that we wish them well, but they must be very concerned and intentional about what they put out for Nigerians to eat. Let's be our brother's keeper. Thank you for coming on the program.
You're welcome.
We'll quickly wrap up with 2 messages. Engineer Mamu's Faith Oji says food control agencies should set up task forces in all the states of the Federation, especially to monitor perishable foods. They say banana, there's a threat to banana in Nigeria, that she bought banana and she had rashes in her mouth. For 3 days, she felt enormous pain and she had the rashes in her mouth. Mrs. Shaba tells us that you can also preserve your beans in a jerry can and put a little garlic under. That will last you for as long as 6 months. Terry Chuku and Oyema Uguoke reaching us from Unsuka, Oyema from Unsuka, and Terry Chuku from Kuje in Abuja say they've been well enlightened with the package these last 2 days and they encourage us to do more and they thank us for what we have done. Talking about the Nigerian Television Authority and the enlightenment we'll be creating with adulterated food and beverages. And we thank you indeed for being a part of the program this last 2 days, and from all time you're always there for us, sending in your messages. We read as many as we can take. Have yourself a great week and be intentional about your health. God indeed bless Nigeria.